What's going on, family? Welcome back to the From the Bottom FS Reaction channel, man. Today, for the first time, we have Tucker Carlson. First time on the channel. I'm not the biggest watcher of Fox News, but on this channel, all perspectives will be respected. And so we're going to hear what he has to say and, express our opinions on it, of course. Big shout out to all the subscribers showing love on the channel, especially big shout out to Minnie Hugs for her contributions to the channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. One of the hallmarks of people who are telling the truth, in case you were wondering how to tell the difference, is that people who are telling the truth are calm. They don't wave their hands around and make wild accusations. They don't need to do that. It's enough to say what they know. And if honest people turn out to be wrong about something they have claimed, they'll admit it. They don't double down on false. They made a mistake, and that's okay. It's not like they're claiming to be God. Liars behave differently. Liars are touchy, sometimes to the point of hysteria. They're hiding something. That's the whole point of lying. And they're worried you're going to find out what it is. Liars are fragile because over time, lying makes you weak and afraid. It has the same effect on countries, by the way. We're living through one of those clarifying moments, which actually we're thankful for, where we're learning exactly who the liars are. On Monday, we showed you unreleased videotape from January 6th. That tape proved that three of the most important claims our leaders have made about that day were untrue. Their claims were lies. We were not shocked to discover that. We knew there was a reason that congressional leaders had been hiding the tape and that reporters in Washington weren't demanding to see it. They were lying to us, obviously. That's why you hide things. But what was actually surprising, what we can't quite get over even now, is how they responded when they were caught lying. They didn't seem embarrassed. They didn't apologize. They weren't even curious to learn more about what actually happened on January 6th. Let's see the tape. No, they didn't want to see it. They exploded in rage. And then, as liars tend to do, they doubled down. They told the same lies they've been caught telling, but with even greater aggression this time. Shut up, it's midnight, they said as the sun rose behind them. Who acts like that? Well, sociopaths do. And in this case, the sociopaths turned out to be both Democrats and Republicans. The commitment to lying in Washington is far deeper and more bipartisan even than we realize when we follow this stuff for a living. Now, you sometimes hear people say that the whole partisan system is an illusion and that underneath the manufactured debates, the leaders on both sides are in fact...
So the question has to rise, why would the Republicans and the Democrats work together to lie about the events that took place on this day? And obviously you have to say it has something to do with Trump. You know what I mean? From my perspective, I think they both fear Trump, man. He's literally his own identity, and he has his own, he doesn't follow by anybody's rules. And that's one thing about, whether you're on the red or the left or the right side, one of the biggest things that you can take away from both sides is they love control. They love control. You can't, do anything out of pocket, say anything out of your team's character. If you're on the right side, you got to stick to your team. Left side, stick to your team. But Trump, man, he's very special. He's uncontrolled. He gets on Twitter, says whatever he wants, whether you agree with it or not. He says whatever he wants, man, unfiltered. So let's see what else he has to say.
Illusion, and that underneath the manufactured debates, the leaders on both sides are in fact secretly united in a common love of money and power and the deception required to get them. And honestly, we could never really bring ourselves to believe that. It's just too dark. But now we do believe it because we have seen it.
Right.
Consider the death of police officer Brian Sicknick. Now, we still don't know exactly how Officer Sicknick died. We're not certain that anyone does know. No one has explained it. But after reviewing the previously withheld video evidence, we can tell you with certainty that Officer Sicknick was not beaten to death by Trump voters at the Capitol. The tape shows very clearly Brian Sicknick walking through the building in apparent health after the media told us for 2 years that he had been murdered. So they were wrong about that. Okay, they got caught. Here's the interesting thing. They won't admit it. Liz Cheney's tweet is still on Twitter tonight. Officer Sicknick was killed defending our Capitol from the violent mob on January 6th. No correction. Anderson Cooper of CNN still has not apologized. Quote, Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the fight, he told us. Those are lies. So why not just admit it and move on? But they won't. In fact, this week, the White House trotted out both the press secretary and Joe Biden's attorney general, the attorney general of the United States, to claim not just that Brian Sicknick was actually murdered by Republicans at the Capitol, but that other officers were murdered too. It's almost beyond belief. Watch this.
The rage of bipartisan lawmakers, you heard them all yesterday, you guys reported on it, who have condemned this false depiction of the unprecedented violent attack on our Constitution and the rule of law, which cost police officers their lives.
It was a violent attack on a fundamental tenet of American democracy, that power is peacefully transferred from one administration to another. Over 100 officers were assaulted on that day. 5 officers died.
5 officers died on that day. Now, that's just not some guy on Twitter. That's the Attorney General of the United States. That's a man whose honesty is central to his job. If you had a choice between IQ and integrity in an Attorney General, of course you would go with integrity because it's essential. But Joe Biden's Attorney General, Merrick Garland, is a liar. He just lied about something that is provably false. Who are these 5 officers who were, quote, killed that day? Notice he didn't tell you. No one ever tells you. No one ever shows you their autopsies. They don't want any detail. They just want the slogan. Now, they're counting Brian Sicknick. That's a lie. But who are the other 4? Well, those are 4 officers who killed themselves after January 6th, in some cases long after January 6th. But their suicides, we know for a fact, were the result of the Republican mob at the Capitol. It's just false. And it's not some esoteric fact. That fact is available to anyone who has internet access. No police officers died that day on January 6th. None. Not one. Some were assaulted, that is true, and their assaults are indefensible. So how many were assaulted? Well, Garland said over 100. The Government Accountability Office says the number is 114, and we're just going to roll with that. We don't know if it's true, but we'll take it at face value. And that is bad. We are opposed to assaulting police officers in any context. We said that on January 6, 2020, and we'll say it again. We're against that. But is January 6 the worst assault on the U.S. government since the Civil War? That's insane. It's not even close. How about March of 1954, when Puerto Rican separatists shot 5 congressmen in the Capitol building? 5 members of Congress shot in the building. It's all bad, but the worst since the Civil War. You're just a flat-out liar if you're saying that. More recently, this is an event we all remember, Antifa descended on Washington, D.C. to force the sitting president from office. But it was Trump, so that's cool. And while they were there, they set a historic Christian church on fire, St. John's in Lafayette Square. Do you remember that? You should, because it happened Labor Day weekend less than 3 years ago. And when it happened, the left-wing mayor of Washington, D.C. refused to allow her police department, the MPD, to assist Secret Service agents while they were under siege and getting beaten. No, she made her cops stand back and watch it happen. And they were very upset about it at the time. You may have forgotten that. Here's what it looked like.
I believe there are several fires raging now down this street, and this is what you hate.
I don't know, man. From what I'm gathering here, man, he's making the comparison between the Black Lives Matter protest and January 6th protest. He's definitely declaring both to be bad, but I think he's trying to draw a line saying one's worse than the other. And I think my reply to that would have to be, that's kind of a I don't know, man. How do you compare what January 6th to just a protest? Could you compare property damage? Could you compare assault, crime that happened? You can compare that, but in that aspect, but outside of that, it's kind of a weird comparison. I think that throughout history, we've had several protests that resulted in assault and property damage, which is bad. I think what sets this apart, or January 6th apart, was the threat of violence against several of our senators and the vice president of the United States. I mean, they had him hiding with CIA in a secure room in a corner somewhere in the office. And there's no telling what would have happened if they were to reach that point with him in there. So I just think that making that comparison is a stretch. You can definitely compare property damage. You can definitely compare violence. But when it comes to, I mean, Mike Pence was literally in there hiding, man. He was hiding from civilians. He was hiding from protesters. He was hiding from the quote unquote the mob. You know what I mean? So that's a little different when your vice president is involved and his life could be on the line. But of course, nobody's life's more important than others. But that's where I would kind of draw the line as far as that goes. You guys let me know what you guys think down below as far as that conversation. Let's go.
See, there are people throwing fireworks and who knows what else. And that crane is just fully engulfed.
And another thing is that's like, from what I'm getting from what he's trying to do, I don't think he's trying to put it in perspective. I think he's trying to make January 6th less than, as far as the damage done to the country, when we see people who 100% believe in what they believe in, how far they're willing to go for it, but how it can get out of control fast. You know what I mean? And so I think he's trying to take away from the importance of that day, maybe because he don't personally think that it was a big deal or something like that. That's just what I'm kind of getting by comparing it to other protests, by comparing it to the Black Lives Matter. That seems to be everybody's scapegoat nowadays, as far as this goes. So that's kind of something I'm getting out of that as well.
To St. John's Church.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is burning a church across
Let's just see where he goes with it.
House.
Let's just see where he goes.
Those are the George Floyd riots. So what was the toll there? Now, we're not going to guess. We're going to go again right to the government. According to a recently released GAO report last month, during those attacks, the 2020 attack on the White House by left-wing mobs, we're quoting, Federal Protective Services, the Secret Service, and the Park Police reported that at least 180 officers were injured during the demonstrations, including concussions, lacerations, exposure to chemical gas, and severe burning. So, while stipulating that all riots are bad, because precision matters, facts matter, the truth matters, here's the truth. More cops were injured by Kamala Harris's favorite mob, BLM, at the White House than were injured by Trump voters at the Capitol on January 6th. A lot more. So again, to be clear, both events are bad, but here's the key. We only remember one of them. Why? Because the people in charge of history are liars. Liars. And lying is bad. And on a national scale, it's deadly. It's corrosive of everything that is good in the country, including...
And again here, I think, like I said before, that the biggest difference between a riot, like a normal riot in the streets, and then January 6th situation was the people, I guess, that were threatened, the senators, vice presidents, and they were directly in on the front line, a few rooms away from these folks that broke in there, they were screaming out, hang so and so and so and so. I mean, that's a crazy situation to be in. So I'm not sure. I get why he's doing it, but from what I'm receiving, he's kind of just downplaying January 6th. So say, hey, look over there though. Remember back in da-da-da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? And trying to take away from it. So let's continue, man. Let's continue.
Trust and your grasp on reality itself, and that's why they try to make you lie. Men can become women. climate change is an existential threat, or whatever the lie is they're making you tell. They don't believe it. They know you don't believe it. But by forcing you to repeat it, they degrade and control you. They make you less of a person. They also hurt
Say what? Hold on, what? What's going on?
including trust and your grasp on reality itself. And that's why they try to make you lie. Men can become women. Climate change is an existential threat, or whatever the lie is they're making you tell. They don't believe it. They know you don't believe it. But by forcing you to repeat it, they degrade and control you. They make you less of a person. They also hurt individuals. We told you Monday about Navy veteran Jacob Chansley. He was tried by the media, convicted of being a domestic terrorist, and sentenced to 4 years in prison. What exactly was Jacob Chansley's crime? Well, no one was ever very precise about that. Here's what the media told you it was.
In his horned helmet, fur pelts, and face paint, Jacob Chansley became known as the QAnon shaman. But prosecutors called him the most prominent symbol of a violent insurrection.
He's been in jail since January, and he's trying to get out, but prosecutors say he is still too dangerous to release.
Make no mistake, Chansley is a stone-cold thug.
He kept saying, I'm not violent, I'm peaceful, I'm a shaman. But then you put those images, what you were just talking about, you put those images together, and that isn't an image of peace. This is the new face of extremism.
It's the new face of extremism. Jacob Chansley is the new face of extremism. He's a stone-cold thug. Prosecutors say he is too dangerous to release. And most people believe that because why wouldn't they? They were told it, and there was no evidence to the contrary.
He's just walking
and now
around.
there is evidence to the contrary. We brought it to you Monday. The video that we reviewed at great length over 3 weeks showed with precision what Jacob Chansley actually did inside the Capitol. And here's what it looks like once again.
Oh, that's crazy.
Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow.
But even like right here though, from the video footage, the police officers here don't seem to be in a sense of urgency. So this would lead me to believe this was prior to the events or way before. I'm not sure if this is the same day, but you got the lady over here on her cell phone. People just standing around on their phones, just relaxing. And I'm not sure that this was before it actually broke out, if he was already walking around, or if this was actually on the same day. If this is on the same day, I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. But again, we always have to, I mean, this don't seem like the same day as January 6th or the same moment. I think it's prior to him walking around. He's probably legit just getting a tour. I see the 2 officers are walking around with him. He's probably legit just walking around, getting a tour, and then he probably went back outside or whatever, or the following day, and events took place. And I'm only saying that because I don't see any timestamps on the video, so we don't know the time.
Down.
So
Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his
you
allies.
guys let me know what you guys think.
Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer
They're
on the
relaxed.
floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us in this building.
Contrast the
crazy.
reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th, the indisputable facts recorded on video, some of which has never before been seen, with the depiction of Jacob Chansley that you've seen in the media for more than 2 years. He's a terrorist, they said. He should be killed.
Shoot him. Yeah. Shoot him. Like, you burst into the United
That's
States.
crazy.
If he was dressed like bin Laden, would you have shot him?
Shoot him! Shoot him! It makes you wonder, who are the violent extremists here?
And this is the problem with media, man. That once they get a narrative, they run with it, and it's on both sides of the fence, man. It's all to control the people and the masses and to control us. But we gotta be sensible enough to understand and read between the lines. Now, to me, like I said before, this don't feel like the same day. And if it was the same day, and those cops are outside while they're inside doing this, that is absolutely that's nuts. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I ain't gonna hold you on that.
So as you saw, and again, details matter because this is a man. This is an American citizen, a Navy veteran. This is a human being. And so what he actually did should be of deep concern to every American because he's in jail tonight. What Jacob Chansley actually did was wander peacefully through the Capitol, shepherded by Capitol police officers who literally opened doors for him. When one was locked, they went to another. Dozens of officers stood and watched him. All of them had guns. Jacob Chansley did not. They never told Jacob Chansley to get out. The head of the Capitol.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of editing going on. Like I said before, you guys, if this is the same day, that's crazy. If they're just walking around, police are just in there chilling, but it just feels like, it just looks like, even when the video before, the sun's going down here, or whether that's afternoon or before closing on a different day, or the sun could be coming up and it could be the early before this all happened. We don't know. We can only speculate, but from my perspective, it just seems something's off about the editing here.
Jacob Chansley did not. They never told Jacob Chansley
they pan
to get
to this
out.
part, and it's like, all right.
The head of the Capitol Police today said he was trying to calm the situation. It was already calm. He was the only protester in the frame. They could have let him outside. They didn't. They helped him. We're not going to speculate as to why. We don't know why.
I don't know.
All we know is what we see on the tape.
Let me know
and
what
no
you
one
guys think,
disputes
man.
it. We didn't cherry pick it. We didn't make it up. Once inside the Senate chamber, as we told you, Chansley said a prayer thanking God for the kindness of Capitol Hill police. And good for him, they were kind. This was not a domestic terrorist. And that matters. But what matters even more is that the videos that we showed you after 26 months were not shown to Jacob Chansley's attorneys. That's a violation of the Constitution.
That's wild.
And he's in jail because of it. Because the liars on the January 6th committee and the prosecutors who did their bidding, and that means Benny Thompson, and that means Adam Schiff, it means Liz Cheney, these people have this man's life on their hands.
That's wild.
They helped withhold these videos from Jacob Chansley's attorneys. And that means the judge who sentenced Jacob Chansley, Royce Lamberth, never saw them either.
And my take on this as well is, if they don't have enough evidence if they don't have enough factual video footage of this dude actually in there doing crazy stuff or breaking in there, or text messages of him, maybe gathering the troops and gathering, or, and galvanizing his side. I mean, how can you lock him up though? I mean, maybe they already have this information. Maybe, I'm far behind here, but my guess is, I mean, hopefully, dog. Hopefully in America, you would have to have solid evidence, solid facts, solid video footage of this guy doing these heinous actions within the Capitol for you to give him the amount of time that you are giving him. Hopefully, you know what I mean. Let's see. He might dive into it. We don't know. Let's go.
And therefore, Judge Lamberth was able to say that what Chansley did was, quote, horrific. He apparently had no idea that Chansley was wandering around with the cops, walking through doors they opened and saying prayers for them. We're quoting, "You made yourself the center of the riot," said the judge. Really? He accused Chansley of, quote, obstructing the functioning of government.
Now, the little footage I did see, like outside of this video of him, he was kind of galvanizing the folks. He was getting them all together, like, had the intercom or the intercom thing, talking to everybody, getting everybody, riled up outside the building. But I don't know, man. 4 years. I mean, I would have to see more. I would have to see more to meet that time of length behind bars. He could have been there. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. We're all speculating at this point, but let's just see.
But that's not at all what was happening. He was ambling through the Capitol, flanked at all times by armed cops who were directing his movement. Meanwhile, prosecutors of the DOJ, the real villains here, falsely, they lied in court and said that Chansley was, quote, leading the charge into the Capitol on January 6th. They said he was, quote, the flag bearer for the mob, apparently because he had a flag. He was alone. And of course, the media picked up on this and amplified it as the DOJ intended. Fortune magazine disgraced itself by comparing the man you just saw to ISIS. They said Chansley had, quote, the zeal to possibly kidnap or kill officials. These aren't just lies. These are lies that destroyed a man. So no matter who you voted for in the last election, you could probably...
I don't know, but at the end of the day, that is illegal. All right? You can't break into the Capitol building. All right? I mean... You just can't do that. You know what I mean? You can cut the pie how many ways you want. But at the end of the day, you can't break into the Capitol. I can't break into your home. I can't break into a store. You can't. We can't break into the Capitol building. We just can't do these things. All right. Once you do these things, then you know, you are subject to the law. So now within that, you should be able to, you know, I'm sure he had a lawyer. I'm sure his lawyer should, I mean, try to obtain the footage. This is the actual footage of the same day during the situation. But I don't know, man. I feel like, bro, if you're a grown adult walking around with the flag on your back, got the horns on your head, you know, you go to the protest. The same thing for Black Lives Matter. If you walking around Black Lives Matter flag and you're galvanizing people to get more aggressive and to become more violent, it goes both ways. I don't think that you have to be responsible for that. You're a grown man, you know, galvanizing folks for things that you believe in, and you have to be responsible for that. That makes you look like a leader. When you carrying the flag, that makes you look like a person of importance. When we went to war, you know what I'm saying? The guys up front, even in the movies, you go to war movies, you got the guys up front holding the flags, pushing the troops, are usually people of importance. You know what I mean? So you have to be responsible for that. That's just my take on it. So to me, I think Tucker Carlson's kind of like on his side, defending him in a sense, but bro, you broke the law. There's not too many more ways I can cut that slice of pizza, man. I'm not gonna hold y'all. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep it going, see where he goes with it, and let's just ride it out. Come on.
That sending someone to prison for 4 years on the basis of fabricated evidence is the most serious threat to civil liberties we could possibly face. And yet here's the thing. Leaders in both parties, the party that Chancellor voted against and the party he voted for, have said nothing. Correct. Not one word about the implications of this videotape. The implications not just for Chansley, but for our Constitution and our country going forward. Instead, ooh, how dare you show this? What is clearly exculpatory evidence. And again, it's not just Chuck Schumer, it's Republican senators. Kevin Cramer, Mike Rounds, Chuck Grassley, John Thune, Lindsey Graham, of course, Congressman Dan Crenshaw, needless to say, Kelly Armstrong, all went after us. We're not whining about that. We don't care, actually, but it just tells you everything
Tucker doubling
about the way
down.
things actually work. They're not loyal to their voters. They're loyal to each other. And they're willing to lie, really lie, and crush people. Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis, and BLM superfan Mitt Romney all week.
I respect that because you don't really normally see, even on the left side, you don't really normally see people going against their own side like that, especially on the news channels, CNN, MSNBC. You don't normally see, you know, news channels just reporting the news. So in that aspect, you gotta respect. Now he's going to get a lot of views and you know whatnot, but at the end of the day, he's just doing his job, man. He's just doing his job here. So in that aspect, I agree. I agree with Tucker Carlson on that one. No matter which side it impacts, this is transparency. This is what the American people should be able to see. This is what his judge should have been able to see, his lawyers, if this is all true. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Men, and like all weak men, vicious men, were especially angry. Watch.
It was a mistake, in my view, for Fox News to depict this in a way that's completely at variance with what our chief law enforcement official here at the Capitol thinks.
I think it's bull. When you see police barricades breached, when you see police officers assaulted, all of that, or you had to be in close proximity to it. If you were just a tourist, you should have probably lined up at the visitor center and came in on an orderly basis. So I just don't think it's helpful.
It's really sad to see Tucker Carlson go off the rails that bad. The American people saw what happened on January 6th. They've seen the people that got injured. They saw the damage to the building. You can't hide the truth by selectively picking a few minutes out of tapes and saying this is what went on. It's so absurd.
Weak men are vicious men, and these are weak men whose attitudes towards an individual whose life has been destroyed on the basis of false and withheld evidence are vicious.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, we cherry-picked. Really? What they're saying, ironically, what they're describing, ironically, is exactly what the January 6th committee And the prosecutors in these cases did for 2 years. They selectively picked small segments of tape to convince Americans that January 6th was something that it wasn't. It was awful. We would not defend that. We hate vandalism.
I'm about to say, bro, that shit was live, bro. What are you talking
Was
about?
it a violent insurrection?
It was live,
not.
bro. It was live.
Was it a killing of 5 officers in the Capitol? It was not.
You wild.
Those are lies. And they buried tape that contradicted and revealed those lies.
So here's my thing. If that's the case, put the full tape out. Put the full tape out with the timestamps and be 100% transparent versus the edits. Because when you edit, you know, we all know when you edit, it calls for question. But put the full tape out and it's all in entirety. And let's see what time this took place and how he 100% his involvement with the situation. That's what I would say, back. That's what I would say. Put the full tape out, man. Come on.
So all we did was play the tape that they had been hiding for 26 months and show that there were American citizens, Jacob Chansley specifically, and others whose civil liberties were annihilated. And you can make your own rational judgments about what that means. Do you want to live in a country where that's possible? They don't care. Neither party in Washington cares. In fact, the leader of the Senate Democrats, Chuck Schumer, just joined the leader of the Senate Republicans, Mitch McConnell, in calling for this show to be pulled off the air. Now, that's not an argument based on logic. It's based on hysteria and the shame you feel as a weak and terrified person when your lies are exposed. Here's Chuck Schumer claiming for the first time that, like Sandy Cortez, he himself nearly died on January 6th.
Tucker Carlson ran a lengthy segment last night arguing the January 6th Capitol attack was not a violent insurrection, an attempt to rewrite history and erode the very foundation of our precious and sometimes fragile democracy. So yes, this morning I am furious. Millions of Americans are furious. I was here on January 6th. Many of you saw the footage as I ran for my life, coming within a few feet of these criminals.
Yeah. So we invited Schumer on, McConnell. Anybody is always welcome to come on our show. If we got something wrong, tell us how.
Oh, he don't care.
If you think we altered the tape in some way, tell us how.
He don't care.
But they won't. Nor will they answer the most basic question, which is why should a demonstrably nonviolent man who literally said a prayer of thanksgiving for police officers on the Senate floor, how is that man ISIS? How is he a domestic terrorist? How is he a threat to the Republic? Why is he in jail for 4 years?
All right, you guys. So that was Tucker Carlson. Here is my truth. Showing us video footage of the gentleman there walking around the Capitol building. Now, listen, man, to me, it was, you know, everybody has their personal opinion. My take on it, it looked a little choppy. I'm not sure if that was even the same day or if that was before the incident or days before the incident. We don't know. He's catching a lot of heat for this video here. But if there is some truth to the video, that needs to be talked about. If him or somebody on his channel chopped it up and, you know, whatever, that's crazy. I mean, that just tells you what the media is willing to do to get your views and get your clicks, man, and how far they're willing to stress the truth, man. So what you guys think down below. Of course, every comment is approved, you know what I mean? So don't hold back. Be completely honest. My take on it is, of course, man, if this is true, that's crazy. If it ain't true, media's in trouble. Media's in trouble. We see the numbers going down on media across the board. We see the numbers going up on folks on YouTube across the board as far as doing their own research and doing their own numbers. You know what I mean? I think with the YouTube perspective, it's more of a personal, it's more of a one-on-one. And you can somewhat trust that person a little bit more to be honest with you, because there's less edits, it's less cuts. And within that, makes it's just more real. You know what I mean? If you make a mistake, it shows. So you guys let me know what you guys think down below. If you made it this far in the video, make sure you guys click like, subscribe to this content. There's also a members page now. I just created it today. If you want to join it, it should be next to the subscribe button. Again, thank you to all the people that are supporting the channel. Until next time, man, you gotta be easy out there. Peace.